Headwater Gold is a relatively new story. We're an exploration company in the western U.S. focused on high-grade epithermal veins, as Brent talked about earlier. Really, we're laser focused on finding a new, high-margin, high-grade asset that a major mining company is going to want to bring into production in a place where they want to operate. So that the company in general was built with that sole focus in mind. And I think you'll see that we've begun to execute that reasonably well just in a short period of time here. So, of course, I will be making some forward-looking statements. Please take the appropriate caution. The big things, I think, at this stage that set us apart are it's a relatively new story. We've just listed this about a year and a half ago, but we've already had some early success. And as a result, we still have a pretty tight share structure. And we have, as a result, positioned the company very well and its shareholders very well to continue to be rewarded with future success, which I think is right on the horizon here. A large part of this is due to a few factors. The strategy that we set out to execute from the beginning, this hybrid business model, where we put together a big portfolio of projects, some of which we brought partners into, and some of which we're exploring ourselves. That's a great blended business model for delivering protection against many of the pitfalls that a lot of junior mining companies suffer, primarily cost of capital, financing risk, and dilution due to trying to keep steady news flow going out. We don't really have to have exposure to each of those by virtue of the way that we've built this company. I'll talk more about the details of that in a couple of slides here, but the main things in addition to that are the big team that we've put together, a very well-respected team both at the board level and the technical level, including Brent himself here as a technical advisor, and a great partner that we brought in Newcrest Mining, who's exploring with us on several of these projects. So first, to start with the team and the board of directors, the company was founded by Alistair Waddell and myself. We first met each other when we worked at Kinross Gold together. We decided to spin up Headwater Gold with this focus in mind about 3.5 years ago now, after assembling the portfolio privately. We brought in a great board of directors, as you can see here, some very well-known names, but also a very well-rounded board. Between capital markets, technical people, money people, we can really take this company wherever we need to take it. On the technical side, on the ground, as Brent mentioned, we've got a team that I'll stack up against anybody anywhere, especially in Nevada. We got a great, well-known suite of technical advisors, including Brent. But we've got an awesome team of technical guys on the ground executing and advancing the story. Randy Vance, 40-year veteran in Nevada, very well-known epithermal geologist, and working with him are two really sharp, really young, go-getter young geologists. Andrew Canada in particular, I think, impressed Brent on his site visit, I think, in November to Spring Peak. It was below freezing. Andrew was running 2 drills 24 hours a day and camped on an empty drill pad in between them. And there was a storm coming in, and we were talking with him. I said, you know, it might be time to go into town and get a hotel and set up from there. And he said, looked at us almost offended and said, my water jug isn't even frozen yet. Why would I go to town? But this is the thing that really sets this team apart, is everybody's laser focused on the same strategy, making a new discovery that somebody wants to mine in a place like Nevada. So here's where we sit right now. We just completed a financing, bringing us up to about 62 million shares, 4 million in cash in the bank, relatively low warrant overhang. That last financing we issued a half warrant. That was the first warrant we've ever issued in the history of the company. We've got about a $25 million market cap right now, and the way we've structured this company, pretty lean. We have a pretty low burn rate, and that's augmented by a management fee as well that we collect from Newcrest that pretty much offsets our corporate G&A, allowing us to put all of this cash directly into exploration in the ground in our 100% assets. So since launching, we had some early technical success, basically tracked with the GDXJ early on. And as you see there in August, we announced this deal with Newcrest that resulted in a sort of a re-rating of the stock. And then continued activity beyond that announcement saw additional stock appreciation, and now we're just getting the results out from the first Newcrest funded projects and are continuing to be rewarded here. So to get into this deal in a little bit more detail, this is a snapshot of the projects in the portfolio right now. We've got about 11 projects. 4 of them are under earn-in agreements with Newcrest, and the remaining projects are available for us to explore 100%. There's a couple of them that are priority projects, a couple of them that, in keeping with our business model, we're still looking for additional high-quality partners, possible divestment, sale opportunities, all sorts of things. And an important point here is we brought in this portfolio of projects largely through claim staking, generating these projects ourselves, staking the ground, and we've got an ability to keep that going. And all of that is offset by this deal that we did with Newcrest, which provides full funding for 4 of these projects with a pretty aggressive earning structure and allows us to keep steady news flow without diluting the company. And still, we structured it in a way that provides significant upside for our shareholders. So the main focus on the Newcrest earn-in side this year was our Spring Peak project, where immediately after signing that, we got busy with a couple of rigs. This was following up on some early success we had with some scout holes, scout drilling and RC out there immediately after listing. That caught Newcrest's attention, and this is an example of the sort of deal that we put together. They all vary a little bit. They're all project-specific earn-ins. The structure's the same. The amounts vary a little bit. Where at Spring Peak, there's a $5 million US firm minimum commitment. They have to spend this or pay us a difference in cash. That's included in a stage 1 $15 million earn-in over the first 3 years to get them to 51%. At that point, they can spend an additional $40 million US to get to 65, and then deliver a PFS to get ultimately to the full 75% interest. So basically for the company and our shareholders, our upside is a carried 25% interest in a Newcrest size PFS stage project in Nevada, plus at that point, a royalty kicks in on top of that. For the 3 projects, the other 3 projects, it's a 2% NSR, and for Spring Peak, it's a 1% NSR. There's a small underlying royalty burden here. So what we've just announced a couple of days ago is the results from this program, where we hit exactly what we were looking for. Epithermal veins, blind epithermal veins underneath high-level alteration. Following up on our scout drilling, which had hit broad intervals of the exact sort of stuff we were looking at, but nothing over 5 grams per ton. We saw exactly what we needed to see to go back in there and offset that with core, and we're rewarded for that, that insight. We hit high grade, over 15 grams per ton in 4 of the 10 holes that we drilled, including in this zone, the disco zone, 2 individual veins within about a 20 to 40 meter true thickness zone. These veins are individually between 1 meter and 2.5 meters, grades of 10 to up to, well, I've got some 2 ounce per ton vein samples at my booth. You can come look at those over beers if you're interested. Exactly the same textures Brent was showing earlier in those slides. The other thing that's quite interesting about the Spring Peak project is we made an additional high-grade discovery about 1 kilometer away on another structure. So we think we've knocked it out of the park with this one. We demonstrated that the main zone has quite a bit of continuity, and it's a no-brainer to offset that down dip and a long strike. That's what we'll be looking to do this year. But we also have demonstrated that there's additional high-grade mineralization on the property. Another one that I won't get into, I don't have time to get into the details at all, that Brent likes and was out in the field on very much, is our Midas North project, just north of the historic Midas mine. This is a large epithermal system that has never been drilled. We've just, under this Newcrest funding, put together a big geophysical program that defined a bunch of targets. For those of you interested in that or learning a little bit more perhaps about epithermal systems in general, I did about a 40-minute call with Eric Coffin a couple weeks ago after we announced those targets that walks through all the details of that. You can find that on our website. Last but not least here on the project side is our 100% owned KATEY project. This is effectively our flagship 100% asset. This was one of the holes that we drilled immediately after listing. We only drilled 2 holes in this project, and the first of which hit about 1 ounce per ton, over about 2 meters in an area that had never been drilled at depth. Remains wide open, down dip, and a long strike. And this is something now with this recent financing, we're fully funded to go out here and aggressively offset this. One thing that we did since announcing that initial discovery is go back out there with auger soil samples. There's a thin veneer of cover, and so we had to auger through about half a meter to 1.5 meters of alluvial cover. But what we found is that we turned this one isolated outcrop that we had one isolated hit, high-grade hit, into about a kilometer-long structural zone that has alteration geochemistry all along it, and that'll be the focus of this year's drill program, in addition to offsetting immediately that known high-grade mineralization. So if nothing else, I hope that you'll get out of this that we're very busy. We're funded for a lot of activity, both through our treasury and our deal with Newcrest, and we'll be quite busy this year. I'm currently looking at signing up about 5 drill rigs to be marching through these projects. First at Midas North, as soon as the snow melts, followed shortly thereafter at KATEY and Spring Peak. And then there's a third Newcrest funded project right next to KATEY that I didn't discuss, but we'll be drilling in tandem. And the other thing to watch for is we're always continuing to generate new projects, new opportunities, and that hasn't stopped. So we're looking at all sorts of stuff to continually upgrade our portfolio of projects and exploration opportunities in a great place. So yeah, we think we're an experienced team working in a great jurisdiction. We've got a great partner in Newcrest, a lot of news flow, a lot of catalysts, and limited risk due to the way we've structured this deal. So thanks a lot.